2. Welcome back to WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We're doing Baltimore Positive. We're out at State Fair in Catonsville with Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. We got former Baltimore County Executive Don Moeller with us as well, and we're eating Eggs Benedict and doing all this fun stuff. We talked about structure and love. I want to give a little love. First off, tomorrow's my wife's birthday.
Oh.
She is still alive. We're very, very grateful for that. And our friends here, Stephanie's here from There Goes My Hero. We got the sign. Dr. Hrabowski, you like me a little bit, right? You called me 28. So I've known you 45 minutes. We haven't even had a – can I ask a favor of you?
Sure.
You're willing to grant me one wish, Dr. Hrabowski?
As long as it's reasonable.
I'm going to warn you. Put a caviat on it.
Do I look reasonable?
You do look reasonable.
Oh, come on. You haven't. I'm a very unreasonable individual. I have a high bar. You have a campus full of all these beautiful, young, strong, vibrant college students. They don't let the old 28-year-old guys like me on. This is how we save lives. So I don't know if you know about bone marrow transplants and the bone marrow registry, but young and strong is how it happens in a 20-year-old. So we try to recruit to college campuses. So as much as you want to contribute and do something wonderful for Stephanie and Eric and all my friends over here, invite them onto your campus. I want everyone in one of these hats and everyone to have the opportunity to save someone's life.
Sure. So my chief of staff, Candace Dotson,
that's it.
Here,
that's my ask. That's my only ask.
And she will connect us to the right people to get. That's very reasonable.
Is that good, Steph? You doing that? All right, because we haven't had enough business over here because it's 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, and unlike I have no class. Your students have class, so at 9 o'clock they got to be a class.
Lester, it's an extremely diverse student population again. If I remember correctly in the past, you said that
it's an incredible
people
thing.
of color are really underrepresented.
Well, here's the problem.
On the marrow.
When my wife was by the way, plug for Mary Bubala's husband, who's now my wife's doctor. Doug, Mary's husband is a leukemia doctor.
Oh, wow.
He was the man who appeared as the Grim Reaper in the hospital room and said, "You have leukemia," and this was his next question.
Yeah.
You're Caucasian, clearly. What's your nationality? And I'm like, what the hell does that have to do? And he said, no. What's your nationality? She said, well, I'm Polish and I'm Scottish.
Yeah.
And he's like, we'll probably have a donor for you. And we have a doctor say, we can probably save your life. Like, literally. And, oh, by the way, it's going to depend on someone. Do you have a sister? Yeah, my sister has MS. Oh, we can't use your sister. Do you have cousins? Yeah, okay. Well, probably. Now, if it was you or me, and I know my skin, I haven't been out in the sun lately because I'm working on Baltimore. Don's working me to the bone over here in Catonsville. But I brown up nicely, and my people, half of my people are from South America.
Right.
My father's side, half, and the mountains of South America.
Sure.
And the other half's from Italy.
Sure.
I always say Tiger Woods would have the roughest time, right? Because he has this mixed cross pan-Asian thing.
Sure.
For someone to save his life, he would be a needle in a haystack because of DNA.
Yes.
And on your campus, young Asian people are dying every day because China and Asia does not have a registry. In Brazil, they don't have a registry in Brazil. Obviously, in Africa.
Sure.
This is and I try to explain this to the football players, and we get them all out that way. Right. But we want to get as many young people as we can to save lives.
So you have my word. My chief of staff will connect them, and we will make sure you get it.
We own UMBC and Hero. Yeah. All right.
Let's jump back here because it's the last segment. We are a little bit on the clock. Doc's been very generous with his time. Dr. Hrabowski, I've heard you talk about it a number of times, read about it. For most of us in the history books, when we read about Alabama and its ugly period and Sheriff Bull Connor, we have images of Bull Connor at the incident at Pettus Bridge, and we know about it historically. We've seen movies. You were there.
Right.
You were there.
Sure.
Describe for folks who might not know the Freeman Hrabowski story, the little boy in Birmingham who encountered Bull Connor.
Children wanted a better education. And Dr. King had said if we participated in this peaceful protest, we could get a chance for the country to see we were not getting the same level of education.
How old were you?
I was 12.
Okay, so how did you wind up? I mean, how does a 12-year-old boy wind up mixed in this?
Sure, because I was in church, because the churches understood we needed to do that. It was the Christian thing to do to want people to have a fair time in life. And I'm sitting in the back of church, not wanting to be there, doing my math and eating my M&Ms, and the guy at the lectern says, if the children participate in this peaceful march, all of America will understand that we've got more to do to be fair to everybody, and they'll be able to go to better schools. And I looked up and I said, who is that guy? And his name was Dr. King. And I did end up going, and I spent a week. I marched with the water and the dogs. and the commissioner stopped me, and I was leading my little group at this point, and he wanted to know, what do you want? And he didn't use the best of language. And when I said all we wanted to do was to kneel and pray at the steps of City Hall. That was it. To pray that the country
sounds familiar to a sports theme that I'm thinking about in the National Football League.
Well,
all I wanted to do was take a knee.
Right.
It was peaceful, right? Literally,
so
right?
I ended up, and he was very upset, and he literally threw me into the police wagon. And I spent a week in jail. It was a terrible week, but the lesson was what Dr. King and I
as a 12-year-old boy?
As a 12-year-old, all of us were children. I was taking care of kids who were 9 and 10 years old. And
that's leadership.
And what I will say is this. It taught us no time to be a victim, that we've got to be empowered to do more. Baltimore cannot be a victim. We've got to empower our children and everybody else to know we can do this together. We've got to give them support. We've got to have the policies, but we've got to have a can-do attitude. And that was the lesson I
want to quit life and go to UMBC.
Trying to think.
I just want to come back. Can I get STEM?
I want to stay. I want to stay. I want to. It's amazing when you talk about that, because I'm trying to place myself in your position.
Sure.
I'm thinking a couple things. I would have been terrified.
Right.
So were you scared when you
Very
were
scared.
walking?
I was a wimpy little math nerd, a little fat math nerd. That's who I was. I love math. That's all. The only fight I'd ever been in was against a math problem.
Okay. So you were scared.
Well, then when you're 12-year-olds, you're thinking, where's your mom? Where's your parents?
I'm thinking I'm terrified.
Yeah,
and then the second thing is I'm thinking this person spits on me, throws me in a police wagon, takes me to jail.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking that I'm enraged and bitter, but you weren't enraged and bitter.
Very scared, very scared. We were treated like animals. It was very scary. And yet, somehow, the only book they had in the place were Bibles. And I spent the time reading aloud to the little kids I was having to take care of. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And it was that faith that got us through.
Can I ask you, when you see these images in recent months of children in cages that look more like me, or maybe look like you, but that, I'm Venezuelan, it would be my people.
Yeah.
And when you see this in the modern era, and you think to yourself, that child might be a student of UMBC here in 16 years or 8 years or 10 years, if given, if we could get that child to San Antonio and into the because that child's walked from Guatemala, that child's walked from Honduras, from El Salvador. The heck are we thinking here, Doc?
My thought is we are better than this.
Right.
This country cares about children. And anytime, I don't care what anybody believes, when they're around those children and they see that these are our babies, hearts are changed. We see that in Texas. Folks of all backgrounds, with all kinds of backgrounds, when they're around those children, we see the difference in the policies as they think about it. We've got to give people a chance to be with those children. Decent people care about children. And my point is this. I believe in our country, and I know we are better than this. And we will do better than this. I am convinced of that. We have had times before when we have stooped to a level where we shouldn't be, and we have been pulled up and said, no, we're better.
Well, it's times like this that this is what's activated the reason you're sitting here right now, because I've always wanted to talk to you, and I never had an excuse to invite you out to talk to me, but seeing the city on fire when my wife was fighting for her life 4 years ago, and the next morning waking up and me being a loud, if you Google me, I'm a loudmouth, and I shut up the next morning because I was a coward. I looked out the window and said, man, that's black, that's white, that's West, that's cops, that's legal, that's the mayor. Stay out of it. Just keep your mouth shut a while. And now 4 years later, I shouldn't have kept my mouth shut.
Well, at UMBC, my students of all races put up big signs all over the campus saying, we are Baltimore too. Yeah. And my kids were there, helping the choice kids and others. We were all there believing in these children. That, frustration, needing support, policies that need to change, but we are Baltimore too. And that's what Americans have to say. We are Americans who, wherever we see injustice or when we see these kinds of problems, these are children. You give children structure and love and support, and all things are possible. Even with my being in jail, I was blessed to have 2 working parents. Most kids of all races in our country, so many don't have that, And that's why I always go back to the role of families and values and giving support to families and finding ways of helping that mama, that dad, that grandmama have that job so they can take care of those families.
And I think about that, Dr. Hrabowski, in light of this past weekend when there were a couple hundred youngsters in the city that got into some trouble. Some a large portion of them weren't doing anything but hanging out.
Right.
A smaller portion were doing things that you shouldn't be doing.
Sure.
It does come back to what do we do to give those kids hope, to provide opportunities for those kids.
Sure, we've got to have, again, structure and opportunities where they can do things. Teenagers are going to be teenagers of any race at any level. It's a part of the hormonal structure of humankind.
I'll tell you what, man, that thing at the Inner Harbor the other night, a friend of mine, Bill Cole, we did it on the radio. Right. He asked me, did you see it? I said, no, I didn't see it. I woke up next day, and I hadn't even thought about it. I didn't watch any of the video, and I'm on the radio at 7 in the morning doing this with Bill, and I thought to just out loud, I'm like, what was I doing when I was I was at East Point Mall. Hanging out. Right. $2 in my pocket. Right. Probably the businesses didn't want me there. Right. But here was the difference, and it took me 15 minutes. The mall cops knew us. We knew the mall cops, and they knew we weren't going to break windows. We were going to be smart, Alex. We were probably going to say something to make a old lady upset, or because we did that. We were kids, But that we knew the mall cops.
Well, it's interesting.
And that's trust.
Well, it's interesting, Nestor, and Dr. Hrabowski alluded to, and we're going to have the new police commissioner on in the near future. I think everyone's optimistic, as you are. I thought it was interesting the other night that, by all accounts, the police really handled
things
the situation well.
And we need to give them credit for that.
And I think it may get back to, Nestor, to what you're saying, this personal relationship, which I hear Dr. Hrabowski talk about throughout this. It's connecting with people.
Yes.
It's not looking at people through a certain lens.
Yes. But the society needs opportunities for children to have constructive approaches to all that energy that they have. Whether you're in Baltimore City, out here in the county, wherever you are, the more we can give people opportunities for activities that are constructive, the less likely you'll have people just mulling around and getting into a little difficulty. Because anybody's child can get into difficulty if we're not careful.
And could have been there.
Yeah.
Anybody's child could have been there.
While I have you here, because he's the PR side and I'm the tough love side here. Every morning I wake up and I see this woman who's in charge of it. I see a guy like you, and I'm like, all right, man, this is the guy I want in charge of education. You make me president, you're running my education. And I see this
President Obama tried that. I don't think it worked out. Well, I don't think he could get a yes either.
I'm just I don't know. I'm pretty persuasive. He thought I was 28. I got time.
He would never forget that.
Best thing I've been told all year. You don't wonder why I like you. Education in this country. If I put you in charge, if I make you God, if I give you no restrictions, all the things are impossible. Come on, we're pretending here, okay?
Yeah, we really.
What are we getting right? What are we getting wrong? I mean, tell me how we would start this all over again, because I'm not sure we're getting it right. I'm not sure I got it right. I'm not sure we're doing it right at Catonsville Elementary, because it's the way we've always done it. Tell me if we were to break it and start it all over again.
The most important thing, we've got to listen to the people on the ground. We've got to listen to parents. We've got to listen to teachers and folks in the local areas to understand, what are you going through? How can our policies help you to do your jobs? We need Washington with all the good things that go on there and all the challenging things that go on there, but we need people who are going to be at the national level hearing what the people at the basic level of teachers and mothers and dads and grandmamas, what are the issues? How can we be helpful? How are policies either helping you to do your job or not? I mean, at the fundamental point about education, it's going to be what's happening in that home, giving support there, because children got to keep reinforcing whatever goes on in the school. Then those teachers and those principals, critical to education. And sometimes I think we don't realize how much we need to listen to what they tell us as we develop policies in shaping their lives.
Is it? But from a tactical standpoint, the curriculum, what we're emphasizing and we're teaching, and how we're doing it when you enter that environment as a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old. Because we go back to let's go back to this citizenship and respect. Those were the first. Boy, somewhere we're really getting that wrong. I mean,
that's a fundamental society big
I see
issue.
that on the highway, just driving on 695 trying to get in Frederick Road. You talk to me about respect and citizenship, and then there's either the middle finger or what might be said, and then it and we got social media, but citizenship and respect because we didn't have this when we were kids,
but
right?
It starts with all. Well, we had a lot of bad stuff then too. When people tell me how bad things are now, I was at Hamilton College. Hamilton was killed by another 4-5. So let's not set that thing was so much better before.
They made a musical out of it.
Yeah. So human
I
beings.
can't afford the tickets.
Human beings have these problems. But I do want to say this. I think every one of us can do more. We start there.
There you go.
Every one of us. We are so quick to point to some one leader, whatever. Every one of us can do more. The voting I keep talking about because it makes the difference. It really does. When people can think well and figure out who are the people representing us best, right? And I just want people to think before being so quick to criticize everything else. But what am I doing? What am I doing as a leader, as an educator, as a citizen to help other children, other families, and our society?
There you go.
All right, Don, you get all your James Lipton questions. Go ahead.
Well,
Come on.
I know.
Ask
we're
him his
running
favorite
off.
pizza.
I know-
Ask him, he's going.
Well, this past year,
if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Y'all are funny.
This past year, we lost a good friend in Mike Bowler.
Oh, man.
Great Sun Paper
man.
reporter, great Board of Ed member.
Yeah.
And at his funeral,
Yeah.
you told a wonderful story
Yeah.
about how he almost ruined your career.
Well, he
I wonder
was-
if you could talk about that again.
No, Mike, first of all, remember the idea that he believed in children and education and being open-minded and asking hard questions and speaking truth to power. He did all those things. But in my young years at Coppin, he came over and he did a story, and he was much too complimentary of me.
If I remember, you were told not to do the interview.
It was a challenging situation, but he really was much too complimentary, and it really did cause me a few challenges there. In fact, and I always teased him and said I'm at UMBC primarily because he did this big story, and everybody started talking about me and education. I said, "You did this, right?" He did, and it was in 1984.
Everybody needs a PR man. I got Bowler.
Mike Bowler, on a serious note, was the best of American citizen I can think of. I mean, as a reporter, as an education reporter, but most important, as a decent human being who would go and read to the children in Catonsville. You see, and to have his
You put his
right
Dr.
here.
Seuss hat on.
Oh man, he was, and it was just to see his grandson doing that and reading from Dr. Seuss. He knew the power of reading, of education, but of caring, and of every citizen caring about other people's children. Right. There's the message.
No, and he really encaptures what you're talking about in terms of respect and
all those
and
things,
civility.
the values we want to have.
Can't let you get out of here without talking about front and center. Higher ed is often not on the front page, but something goes awry and it's right above the fold.
Right.
The college admissions scandal and all these rich folks doing all these crazy things.
That's the only way I was getting into UMBC. The rowing program.
Give us a percent. And I know your campus paper did a funny takeoff on it when they did an April Fool's thing. People were paying to get into UMBC. Give us your perspective as a college president. What's going on there?
I think Americans sometimes confuse social prestige with academic quality. Shouldn't be judging whether a kid should go to a place or not based on whether or not the endowment is so big or that it's considered really socially prestigious, but rather what will the college do for the child? That's the most important part. Will the student have a good experience? Will people care about the student? Will the student get a good education? Will the student become a good citizen with a job, right? But unfortunately, we put a lot of attention on social prestige. And that gets people to do crazy things when they think, he's got to get into this school or that school. There are many public and private institutions that are excellent. Let me just say this. Our community college system in this region and in this state, excellent. Excellent. We see students going to the Community College of Baltimore County and others throughout this corridor.
I'm a graduate, Dundalk Community
College.
College.
I just saw a recent study that shows, a nationwide study that shows that students from community college that transfer to four-year institutions actually outperform students who go directly from high school.
Depending on what they do
everyone I went to community college with was scuffling to pay, for whatever used books we could scurry up, and we were there because we cared, not because our parents sent us, or sent us off to Frostburg, and we come home and because we didn't make it or something. So I mean, community college is
and almost half of American students now, 40% start this. So my point is this, and people would never say, that's social prestige, but great institutions that prepare students well. Just as UMBC, I said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again. There's no university in the country that does a better job with young people than our students, than our institution, and that's true for the University System of Maryland. I want to give them credit. Whether you're talking about Towson or whether you're talking about University of Baltimore, all these places, they do a great job. Ask the alumni. Are they with good jobs now? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Can they think? And
That's
speak?
where we started,
Well,
right?
You know
That's
what?
where we
Maybe
started.
this circles back right to the beginning, which is when you recruit these elite people here from anywhere, any of these institutions recruit folks here. We got to give them a life. This has to be the land of pleasant living. There has to be jobs here for them, safety here for them. Because we got the bay, we got the mountains, we got all the crab cakes, we got all these cool things. Washington, New York. I mean, we talked about the rail with Dutch a couple weeks ago. Can you imagine UMBC to the White House 18 minutes with a stop at the door? Boy, that changes your campus now. Now you're Georgetown down the street if you want to be.
You
right?
see, we can say that within 10, 15 minutes we're at the Inner Harbor, and within 35 minutes we're at the National Harbor. So we're right there in the corridor, and a place where you got 100 different companies plus on
It's
campus.
a place not only you want to come, it's
amazing.
a place you're going to want to stay, and that's where that's where every person has to pick this up. So we make sure Baltimore is the place people want to build their lives.
And you see that. And when you come and you see the companies on our campus, biotech and IT companies, 130-some companies on campus, right? Almost 2,000 jobs right there, but large numbers of people working in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, in this corridor, back and forth. It is a robust ecosystem of people with brain power solving problems.
UMBC.
Research and teaching. That's it.
What a great story. We don't let anybody get away from Baltimore Positive without talking a little bit about we know you work hard.
Yeah.
We say that every week.
Sure,
you work
sure.
from the time you get up. You work out. You got a workout regimen. We know all that.
Right.
What does Freeman Hrabowski do to relax? What's fun? What do you do when you're not working?
Right. I enjoy being at home in Owings Mills, in my backyard with my wife, just relaxing and reading. And I'm doing everything. I'm studying French right now. We're doing acupuncture. We're doing and Tai Chi. Oh, yeah. Vous parlez en français? On peut.
Tai Chi, that's working on the balance.
Tai Chi for the energy and acupuncture. But learning. I'm constantly learning. Nothing is more exciting to me than learning.
Always has been. One quick, whoever the next mayor is.
Yes.
Give them 30 seconds from Freeman Hrabowski. That mayor calls you after the next election and says, Freeman, what would you do first?
You know what? I would, again, what I said about D.C., I'd listen to the people. Listen to the people. That's what Adrian Jones does. That's what Johnny O does. We're listening. Our elected officials, Eric is sitting right now, Eric Ebersole sitting right now listening, trying to understand what are the issues you need to know. It's very important. People who are excellent leaders listen to others. One of my mentees is Calvin Ball. We lead in Howard County. Same thing. I mean, I'm very proud. In this region, you got educated leaders from Jack Young, you see, all the way to the counties here, to the state, to the governor. Listening to the people can be transformational.
There you go.
We good?
Can't end it better than that. We said when we started Baltimore Positive, we said we're going to have smart people talking
Intelligent
about real
conversation
issues.
is what I'm saying. The Dundalk guy comes over, all this happiness in the 21228, Life is great in the two. I'm moving to the Ville if I can't make it in Baltimore.
State Fair, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. What a visit.
You guys are great.
Big thanks to Evan and everybody out here. Our folks at There Goes My Hero. Don't forget about Hero Palooza coming up on June 9, and I've already won UMBC today. I'm good for the weekend. Happy birthday to my wife, Baltimore Positive, and WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST, Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports and